Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I am getting ready to go on a really exciting birding trip to southern Ecuador. We're going to be looking for some of the rarest birds in the world, and so I thought, what better way to get prepared for that trip than to show you what's in my bag. So this is going to be a video about the gear that I'm planning on taking with me to southern Ecuador. But first, a couple disclaimers. First, I have purchased all of this gear on my own, so this video is not sponsored by anyone. And second, while this is the gear that I'm planning on taking with me on this trip, I don't necessarily believe that this is the best gear that you can be taking with you on your trip. This is just the gear that I've been able to put together over the last 20 years or so. So as you can probably tell from what you can see in front of you, I do not travel light when I'm going on these trips. I tend to take a lot more gear than I typically will end up needing, but I always like to be prepared because these could be once in a lifetime trips, especially when we're looking for some of these extremely rare birds that I might never see again in my life. So I want to make sure that I am best equipped for those moments, getting those photos that I'm after and getting those videos that I'm after. In order to take all of this gear with me, I have two bags that I travel with most frequently. The first bag that I take with me is the Naya Evo Fjord 60C. So I have done a whole video about why I believe this is the best bag for wildlife photographers who travel a lot. So if you haven't seen that video, go check it out now. I'm not going to get into it all. Just know that this bag is amazing. It has a ton of space and it can carry pretty much all of the gear that I need to in a carry-on size that fits on those airplanes. So this is my main carry-on bag that I take with me on most of these trips. And then I also have one additional bag that I bring with me, and it's a Tenba DNA 16 Slim. And I can actually fit a lot of gear in here. You can see it's got specialized sections for smaller lenses or accessories. I typically put a lot of my accessories and cords and things in this bag and then take this bag and put it underneath the airline seat in front of me. So between these two bags, I have no problem fitting all of the gear that I need to take with me on these trips. So now let's really talk about the gear that I'm planning on bringing with me on this trip. I am a Sony shooter, and so I shoot right now with the Sony A1. That's actually what I'm taking this video on. And I've had this camera for a few years and it has been absolutely amazing for photography. It has great video capabilities. It was Sony's alpha body until they came out recently with the Sony A1 Mark II. While I would love to have that camera on this trip, it's just not possible right now. But I have no doubts that the Sony A1 camera body is going to be able to handle everything I throw at it in southern Ecuador. I pair that camera body with what I believe to be the best wildlife photography lens out there. I've made several videos already about how much I love the Sony 600mm f4 lens. It is absolutely amazing, and there is no way that I am going to go to southern Ecuador without this lens coming with me. One great thing about this lens is that f4 aperture. And in southern Ecuador and a lot of countries in South America, in the Amazon, it's really dark, it can be rainy, and so that wide f4 aperture really helps me get that shutter speed to where I want it to be, but keeps that ISO relatively low. That being said, I don't have a secondary wildlife lens that I'm bringing with me. I would love to hear from you. If I could rent or borrow one additional lens for wildlife photography in southern Ecuador, what should it be? Should I try to go for the Sony 100 to 400, the 200 to 600, or the 400 to 800? Leave your comments in the section below. In order to make that 600mm lens a little more versatile, I also have a Sony 1.4 teleconverter. Now, over the past year, I have tested this extensively on the 600mm f4, and it performs amazingly well. There's maybe a little hit to the sharpness and autofocus speed, but it's already so good that that really doesn't matter. Most of the time that I'm down there, we'll probably be shooting in pretty low light, so I'll probably use the lens as it is, but I do know that we're going to encounter some situations where we're going to be kind of out in the open, we'll probably get some more light and I'll probably appreciate a little more reach. So this teleconverter turns that lens into a 840 millimeter f5.6. And for small birds, the more reach you can get, the better. The other lens that I'll be bringing with me on this trip is the Tamron 17 to 28 millimeter f2.8 lens. I'm using that lens right now for this video. I love the image quality from it. It's a wide angle lens, and so I can get some really cool landscape shots when we're in some of these really scenic remote locations. And I also can use it for B-roll, for video, when we're staying at the lodges or when we're traveling between sites. So it's a really versatile lens that I will bring with me on most of the trips like this that I do. The next thing I want to talk about is support for all of this equipment. And so taking videos of birds with the Sony A1 and the 600 millimeter, I need a very stable platform for that. That is not something that I am able to handhold on my own. And so I'm bringing a tripod with me on this trip. This is the Leofoto BV20 video head on the LS365CEX tripod legs. And I will admit, this is probably the most challenging piece of equipment for me to take on these trips because it's not a small and it's not a light tripod, and traveling with it is kind of a pain. However, it's very sturdy, it's very robust, and I need that for when I'm trying to get the best videos possible. This is also something great to have at the lodges that typically have fruit feeders set up, hummingbird feeders set up. You can put your gear on your tripod and not have to worry about lugging it around the lodge all the time. I don't necessarily think that this is the best tripod for my use case. I'd actually like to try a few other tripods that are more designed for videography. This does struggle a little bit under the weight of that 600 millimeter f4, but it gets the job done for now. As this is a birding trip, I'm going to need a pair of binoculars. So this is my personal pair of binoculars that I bought about a year ago after my old pair broke. I'm not using alpha level glass here. This is a Nikon Monarch M7. I found these binoculars for the price point. I think they're like 500 bucks maybe. They're absolutely phenomenal. They have ED glass. The image is bright, crisp, sharp. I've had no issues with these binoculars. I absolutely love them, and they will be going with me to Ecuador. While I do enjoy the bird photography aspect of these trips, I am also really getting into wildlife videography. And so I have a couple pieces of equipment that I bring with me to make it easier for me to get the video I'm looking for. So for each of these trips, I really like to put together trip report style videos. And in the past, I've used the GoPro Hero 12 for that. And I recently just upgraded to this DJI Osmo Action 6. I haven't had a chance to play around with it a whole lot, but there are some features on this action camera that I think are gonna really benefit the type of videography that I do down there. It's better in low light, it turns on faster, has a better battery life, it has a touchscreen in the front that you can adjust the settings. There's just a whole bunch of things that this does a lot better than the GoPros, so I'm really excited to take this with me to Ecuador and see how it performs. In addition to kind of the vlog style videos that I like to do, I also like to do some video from a different perspective, and that's where this drone comes in. So this is the DJI Air 2S. It's an older style drone at this point, but it still performs really well. It shoots in 4K. It's small, it's light compared to a lot of the other drones like the Mavic. The battery life isn't terrible. And I've been able to get some really unique shots with this, both photos and video, that I wouldn't have been able to get with any of the other gear I bring. So I always love to bring these drones. They're fun to play with, and you can get some really unique perspectives, both for photos and videos. To go along with that drone, though, one piece of equipment that has really helped make using drones in the tropics much easier is this remote. And so this is the DJI RC Pro. This is not the standard remote that comes with the drones. This is an upgrade. But what I love about it is that it has a built-in screen. It's very bright. It connects super well with the drone. I don't have to use an external monitor like my camera. It's just, that gets really clunky in the field. And so I love this DJI RC Pro remote. Just makes everything so much easier when you're shooting. I also use my Sony A1 camera body for wildlife videography. And I have a few accessories that I use with it to really help maximize the potential of the camera. The first accessory I want to talk about is something that's relatively new to me that I'm excited to try out when I go on this trip, and it's an external monitor and recorder. And so I'm using the Atmos Ninja V, and that connects directly to my Sony A1. It has a much larger screen, which I appreciate because it's much easier to see what you're doing in video than on the little built-in screen on the A1. But the biggest advantage and the biggest reason why I got it is because the Sony A1 body tends to overheat pretty quickly when you're shooting 4K and 8K video, and that will shut off the camera and you won't be able to shoot video until it cools down, which can take a while. So with this as an external recorder, I am able to record directly onto that Atmos Ninja V. That takes that load off of the Sony A1, and I can record for much, much longer. I have yet to run into a recording limit on that. And so that just makes getting those shots that I'm looking for so much easier. The other accessory that I add on to the Sony A1 and that monitor is an external microphone. I have learned that sound is incredibly important when you are making these videos. And so the sound on the camera body itself from the built-in microphone and the built-in microphone on these action cameras is okay, but it's not great. And you can get a much better sound if you use an external microphone. So what I love about it is one of the things I can do is use that microphone to record background noise from the Amazon, from the jungle, from birds, frogs, monkeys, you name it, whatever's going on down there. I can record that and then overlay it into some of the video tracks that I take while I'm down there. And the quality is just amazing from this microphone. The other microphone that I will use, I typically use more frequently with the action cameras, is the Rode Wireless Go 2. It's a pretty small package. I also use a lavalier microphone with this. And what I will do is I'll take this lavalier mic, I'll feed it through my shirt, and then attach it with tape on the inside of my shirt. This provides a really, really great audio sound for the action cameras, which typically don't have the best built-in microphones. Finally, I want to talk about some of the accessories that I bring with me and why I bring those accessories. So the first thing is that I bring a lot of batteries for all of this equipment. For my Sony A1, I have about 6 batteries that I will bring with me fully charged at the start of the trip so that I don't ever have to worry about running out of battery. I don't want to be out there shooting and worrying like if my camera is going to die and I'm not going to have enough juice. That's not something I want to worry about. I also have 3 batteries for the external monitor that I talked about earlier. That monitor does go through batteries pretty quickly, and so I want to make sure I have enough juice to get me through at least a full day before I can get back to the lodge and charge those batteries. I also have about 4 or 5 drone batteries, and on a trip like this where I know I'll be able to charge periodically, I will probably only bring 3 of those batteries, and that should be able to get me through a day of shooting with the drone. So speaking of batteries, I will typically bring with me a couple of these Anker battery packs. These are 20,000 milliamp battery packs that I can use to charge any of my accessories throughout the day. I can use it to charge my phone, I can use it to charge the action cameras, and that gives me a little more juice to help get me through the day if I need it. Especially for those action cameras, they don't last super long if you have them on 4K or 8K. And so I like to be able to charge periodically throughout the day if we are in transit in the vehicle between shooting locations. I can easily just add a little bit of charge to some of those accessories and not have to worry about running out of battery. Those battery packs don't take up a ton of space. You can get ones that are larger. But I found that just taking a couple of those really helps ease my mind about any battery anxiety I might have. Other accessories that are really helpful, I found that having a lot of memory cards is essential for a trip like this, and so having a memory card holder helps you organize those memory cards. So I have memory cards for the Sony A1 camera, I've got memory cards for the drone, I have memory cards for the action camera, and so having that all organized in one cheap little case from Amazon has changed the way that I travel with all of these memory cards. It's so nice to have everything all in one location protected in this hard case. So once I finish a day of shooting, I need to get all of the data from these memory cards onto either my laptop or some external storage drives. My preference is to bring with me several different external hard drives so that I can back up the photos and that they can all live on here until I get back from that trip and can put them onto my PC. So what I have here, I have one large 4 terabyte external solid state drive. This is the Samsung T7. I've never exceeded 4 terabytes of shooting on an international trip like this, but the more and more I do video, the closer and closer I get. And so I will also bring another 1 terabyte solid state drive, external hard drive, just for a little extra space. And then just to be absolutely certain I'm not going to run out of space, I'll bring a slightly slower 4 terabyte external hard drive. So that gives me 9 terabytes of storage for either backup, redundancy, whatever I need. They will live on here until I can get back home and offload all of the data. So a couple other useful accessories that I take with me on these trips include lens wipes. And so these are from Zeiss. They're relatively inexpensive. You get 80 in this box, and I use these all the time. They're specifically designed for camera and optics. And so I'll use these on my lenses. I will use them on my binoculars to keep them clean. I'll use them on my action camera screens. So they're really versatile. So what I'll typically do is just take a few out of the box and I'll pack them away in one of those bags that we talked about earlier. They don't take up much space, but they really make a huge difference for keeping your optics clean while you're out shooting. Speaking of keeping optics clean, if you're in a really dusty location, one of these air blowers really makes a difference. I don't like to touch the glass unless I absolutely have to. And so if I can clean it just with a few puffs of the air from this is one of the pieces of equipment that I use all the time in the studio and also while I'm out shooting. So I think that just about covers all of the major pieces of equipment that I will take on a trip like this to southern Ecuador. I'm curious to hear from you. Am I missing anything? Is there anything you would suggest that I add to my bag that I haven't talked about or thought about up to this point? If there is, leave a comment in the comment section below. Also, if you want to get notified when that Ecuador video drops, subscribe to the channel and give this video a thumbs up. I will see you in the next one.